So we're coming back from the closed session. I need a motion to go back into,
Motion to go back in open session.
motion by Councilman LaWar, supported by Councilwoman Stillway, go back into open session for the special meeting. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Stillgrave? Vining? Germaini? Lamore? Felder? Mayor Clark?
Yes. And Attorney Budge, I know that we have not concluded our work for the session. We're going to close this at this point and then have a motion on later, right?
Yes, Your Honor. My recommendation would be that we close the special meeting that was commenced at 6 o'clock. And then when we open the regular meeting, I will request that we make one amendment to the agenda when we get to that point of the regular meeting agenda.
Okay, so we need a motion to close the meeting.
Adjourn the special meeting.
Councilman LaMore, supported by Councilwoman Germaini, to adjourn the special meeting. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Hayter? Yes. Stillgrave? Vining? Germaini? Lamore?
Yes.
Felder? Mayor Clark?
Yes. Here we see the time is here, but we'll get ready to make sure materials are ready. Okay. We'll probably have a couple minutes here if there's needs for the council.
So we're going to, after citizen comments, go into closed session, correct?
correct.
Before we fully adjourn?
Yes.
Okay. And what are we looking for an amendment on? I know we want to pull item number 4433.
Yep.
4443, I'm sorry.
Yep.
See it on here. Okay. So we're just going to pull that. That's nothing unusual. Right. And we'll just discuss it after we pull it.
Correct.
Okay. So is that, that's really not an agenda. We're not going to amend the agenda. The only thing we're going to amend the agenda is to add the closed session at the end.
Correct. But
So
I
you're
think
right
when
there.
we get to this, I think the mayor's going to ask what he wants to do with the agenda. That's just a motion to do that.
Okay.
Get to the amendment. Are you going to just keep that? Yeah, okay, perfect.
Because we have two others.
Yes.
Because of four appointments and two.
Yep.
But that's under consent. We don't do that. That's not amend. Okay. So just want to make sure that ready to start from the booth. I think so.
We're ready.
Thank you. So it's 7:34 at this time. Call the city council meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Hayter. Steelgrave. Vining.
Here.
Lamore. Felder. Mayor Clark.
Present. I ask we all please rise for the invocation. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Guide us in our deliberations and discussions this evening. May our efforts promote the good of the residents of this city and all who visit.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, first item, please.
The first item on the agenda is the approval of the regular agenda.
So having coming out of our work session, City Manager Robinson, adjustments to the agenda regarding that?
Yes, Attorney Buds does have an amendment to the agenda, and I have one separate. I'll let him go first.
Your Honor, I would request that there be a motion to add immediately prior to adjournment of the meeting an item consideration to enter closed session for the purpose of property acquisition.
Okay, so we're looking for that motion at this time. I know we have an item that the city manager gave us regarding a item from the consent agenda to be pulled, but we'll do that during the consent agenda when that comes forward. But is there any other items on the approval of the regular agenda? Any additional thoughts? If not, a motion will be in order from the city attorney's request. Councilman Lamore.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to include a closed session for the purpose of land acquisition prior to an adjournment.
Motion by Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilwoman Germaine to amend the regular agenda to add the closed session at the conclusion for the purposes stated. Other thoughts? Clerk, we good? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Hayter. Steelgrave. Vining. Germaine. Lamore. Felder. Mayor Clark.
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item is the consent agenda, and for approval of payments, the amount should read $1,257,009.40, 1,257,009.40.
Okay, thank you. Regarding consent agenda, I think City Manager Robinson, you have a comment or an item for your question to have.
Yes, Your Honor and Council, I would request that we pull item 4443, the appointments to boards and commission, from the consent agenda and add it to the action agenda, as there were additions added after the agenda was posted.
Okay, we'll take that in consideration for a request to pull from the council. Other items on the consent agenda that council wishes to have pulled for further discussion. Additional items from council? Any items on the consent agenda, those present here this evening wish to have pulled for further discussion? Items on the consent agenda. And if items that aren't pulled will get motioned and resolved through a vote collectively. Councilman Lamore.
Yeah, Your Honor, I believe we have to pull this item prior to, in order to
Yes.
bring it up. So yes, I'd request that we pull item number 4443.
Well, no, we're gonna,
Just need to
the
make-
motion will be to accept the consent agenda for the items not pulled. So you've made the request to pull it, and that's sufficient. It's not a motion at this time. So now what we have is, we have one item that's been being asked to be placed on the council action. If there's no others, then it's a motion to approve the consent agenda. Councilman Felder, I did ask others if there was, so we're good? Councilman Felder?
Yeah, I'd make a motion that all items on the consent agenda not pulled for further discussion be accepted, placed on file, recommendations carried out, and resolutions adopted.
Support. Motion by Councilman Felder, supported by Councilman Hayter, that items remaining on the consent agenda that have not been pulled be accepted, placed on file, recommendations carried out. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Hayter. Steelgrave. Vining. Germaine.
Yes.
Lamore. Felder. Mayor Clark.
Yes. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item on the agenda is under presentations, communications, and public hearings. It's item 4451, the Opportunity Center at ALCC Fiscal Year 24 Quarter 1 Report.
City Manager Robinson, I understand we have a communication regarding the quarterly report.
Honor and Council, the MCOP, as part of their contractual obligations to the city, have provided us with their fiscal year quarter 1 report, and we included it in the packet for your review as a communication. And I don't see the Director, Stephanie, here to answer any questions, so it was just provided to you for your review.
So it's not an item that's for a motion to accept, the communication is just received, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions or comments from council regarding the communication received? Clerk, next item, please.
Under council action, item 4440, schedule capital improvements projects budget public hearing.
Thank you. Manager Robinson, any comments on item 4440?
As the CIP projects were presented in last month with the joint council and planning commission meeting, we are now asking, in part of our obligation, that we schedule this for a public hearing, and we're asking that we do that on Tuesday, February 20th, 2024.
Okay, any questions from council? If not, a motion would be in order.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing to receive and review comments on the proposed CIP budget at the February 20th, 2024 City Council meeting.
Support.
The motion by Councilwoman Moore, supported by Councilwoman Stillgrave, item 4440, to schedule the capital improvements project budget public hearing at the date stated. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Hayter?
Yes.
Vining? Germaine? Lamore? Felder? Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item is item 4442, SHPO grant submittal authorization.
Thank you. Manager Robinson.
Yes, sir. The Economic and Development Office is submitting a grant application for $50,000 from the Michigan State Historic Preservation Office. And Mark Cochran is here to be able to explain what that money is intended use for if received.
Mr. Cochran.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, Clerk Treasurer, Mark Cochran, Director of Economic and Community Development. This is an opportunity that's released every year through the State Historic Preservation Office and the City of Monroe, because we've got historic districts and other criteria that we meet to be listed as a certified local unit of government through the SHPO. And so that offers us the affordability to apply for a grant through it's called the CLG program, the Certified Local Government Program. And certainly we never want to leave money on the table, and we always have projects that we'd like to try and find some supplemental funding for. And the purpose, we're applying for $50,000 to assist the DDA in the redevelopment of the Monroe Optical Building. The Monroe Optical Building is part of one of our historic districts listed on the National Register of Historic Places. While the building itself is not called out, it's what's called a contributing structure for a larger register listing, which is the entire downtown. And so a lot of the undertaking or activities that the DDA is undertaking and planning to undertake with the facade restoration, they're planning on the roof replacement right now, which requires some brick tuck pointing to be done, as well as window restoration. So the City of Monroe, the DDA cannot apply themselves through this program because it's the city that's listed, and so the city can apply as a sponsor to the DDA's project. And so we would act as a fiduciary. If awarded, we would get the $50,000, and then the DDA could continue with the activity, likely the window restoration for this project. And then we would submit a request to SHPO to be reimbursed, and then we would reimburse the DDA for that project. So that's the purpose of the grant.
Any questions for Mr. Cochran? Thank you, Mark. Councilman Germaine.
I'll make a motion. Move to grant authorization for the Economic and Community Development Department to submit the SHPO Certified Local Government Grant, the city manager to sign all required documents, and assistant city manager, finance director to amend the budget for the grant and adopt a resolution of support.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilwoman Germaine, supported by Councilman Hayter on item 4442, the SHPO grant submittal authorization as presented. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Hader? Stilgrave?
Yes.
Vining? Jermaine? Lamore?
Yes.
Felder? Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please.
Next item is item 4428, professional services contract for underground storage tank at Custer Airport.
Yes, Mayor and Council, as you're aware that as of last summer, we are no longer fully staffing the Custer Airport for full time. Well, one of the things that was a cost, kind of a cost incurring was our maintenance of the jet fuel tank that we have there. On average, we were getting one jet a week that would not be a planned flight that we weren't scheduled for, and so it was determined that no longer are we going to be providing that service. So we have this tank. Over this past summer, we've sold all the way down to 400 gallons of fuel left. We can't pump any more of that out of there based on our pumping device. And the tank was put in 1998. It's pretty much lived its life, even though it's out of fiberglass, and we have no indications that there's any leaking. But if it was leaking, there would be opportunities for other grants, whatever, to help that tank. But it's not leaking. But we are recommending and asking that we can incur the costs and work with AKT to remove the tank so we no longer have that fuel or that liability, as with that age, it's also very difficult to continue to insure.
Any questions for the city manager? I know we've talked about the airport in past work sessions and discussions, and this is something that was coming forward. If there's no other questions, a motion would be in order. Councilman Lamore?
Your Honor, I make a motion that the attached professional services agreement with AKT Peerless Environmental Services be approved in the amount of $38,750, that a total of $45,000 be encumbered to include a 15% contingency, that the Director of Engineering and Public Services or his designee be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city, and that the Finance Director, Assistant City Manager be authorized to make any necessary budget transfers, including from airport fund reserves as deemed appropriate.
Motion by Councilman Moore, supported by Councilwoman Stelgrave on item 4428, the professional services contract for underground storage tank at Custer Airport. Clerk, please call the roll.
Hader? Stilgrave? Vining? Jermaine? Lamore? Felder?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is the item that was pulled from the consent agenda. It's item 4443, appointments to city boards and commissions.
Thank you. City Manager Robinson, I know you provided correspondence to the council and provided on to each council member is the list of resolutions that was originally submitted through the submission timeframe. This is a revised, and the revisions are in bold, so you don't have to try to figure out what it is, and so you can see that the revisions that are there. City Manager Robinson, anything further?
No, we're just asking that as council has had an opportunity to review these appointments, if they have discussion, that we're open for discussion on that. If not, we're asking that they approve these board and commission committee appointments.
Any comments? If not, a motion. Councilman Lamore?
Yes, Your Honor, I make a motion that we approve the new resolution, the revised resolution to the appointments of the city boards and commissions.
Support.
There's a motion by Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilwoman Germaine on item 4428, 4443, appointments as presented. Clerk, please call the roll.
Hayter?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Germaine? Lamore? Felder? Mayor Clark?
Clerk, next item, please.
Items this evening, Your Honor.
So we're to council comments, and it's January, so Councilman Hayter, you're first up. Any comments this evening?
First thing, I would like to congratulate 3 of Joe's ALCC Boxing Club members who went down to Pennsylvania this weekend and participated in the National Silver Gloves Tournament. Those fighters were Jeffrey Venier, Jaden Profit, and Ari Hunter. So congratulations to those guys. Also, with yesterday being Martin Luther King Day, encourage everybody to. There's plenty of events going on this week. I know the community college has got quite a bit of stuff going on, so take the time to take in some of that stuff. And then later on this month, starting on January 30th, the Monroe County Library System will be kicking off the Black History Month Blues Series. There'll be different blues players at every library or a library every Tuesday, concluding all the way up to March 5th. And so take in some blues and enjoy yourself, and we appreciate them doing that.
Councilman. Councilwoman Stelgrave.
The only thing I have to say is stay warm. Thank you, Your Honor.
Very well. Councilwoman Vining.
Thank you, Your Honor. I wanted to thank Patrick and the engineering department and DPS because I get a lot of residents calling about a lot of little things that are not these big projects, and you all have been doing a wonderful job at addressing the residents' issues and concerns, and we appreciate it. A couple residents wanted me to make sure I thanked you publicly, even after I told them I thanked you in an email, so thank you. And all the departments, I mean, kudos, how you really work together to get things done. Let me call out Lauren in the building department. Every time I call him, he's on top of it. It's not for me, it's for the residents, so I just want to say how much I appreciate getting to the little things that might not be so important, but the resident it's important to them, so I appreciate that. And I was hoping I could get an update on the library/opportunity center project. Have we had any meetings? Us frontline employees, we want to know things before it gets so far. We just want to have an idea of what's going on.
Manager Robinson.
Director Cochran, you want to let her know what the latest is?
Yeah, the latest, please.
Yes, so last week we were excited to have a meeting with the committee, which includes Councilwoman Steelgrave and Councilwoman Germaine. We had done in December or late November, I think it was, we had met to review the preliminary schematic construction design that we were looking at for the moving the project forward. Given the input that we received from all the different users from the Learning Bank, the library system, and MCOP, with that, once the feedback was provided, Kohler Architects began working with AUK, our construction management firm, to work on developing a cost estimate on what the final cost would be for that addition. We received that cost estimate back last week that we reviewed with the committee, and then City Manager Robinson, Mr. Sell, Dr. Everly, and myself are meeting tomorrow to talk about that cost estimate. It's still a little bit over the budget and the grant that we received, so we're looking at how we can bridge that gap and having that discussion tomorrow. We're still on pace to have a 50% construction design packet back by early March with the intent to bid it out for the summer and have a fall groundbreaking right on schedule. And I suspect once we have the 50% design, we'll review that with the users as well, with the library system and MCOP and the Learning Bank.
Very good. Have you thought about how you'll bring council into the updates.
Yeah, I think once we move through the design process and get a little bit further along on finalizing the construction design, at that point, we can have a conversation about having a work session with city council to show the entire council what the project scope looks like before it goes out to bid.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilwoman Germaine.
Thank you, Your Honor. On our consent agenda, Mark, you might want to stay up here. We have the public hearing for the IHM PUD amendment. For the public, because there's so much confusion on this, can you explain what that really means and what it doesn't mean for our residents, please?
Absolutely. And so at the last meeting of the Planning Commission, there was a public hearing to consider recommendation to City Council on an amendment to the IHM PUD agreement. So this agreement has been in place for over 15 years with the IHM congregation for the entire IHM property besides what was sold to the Lazy Boy corporate headquarters. So all of the property has been managed between the city and the IHM through a PUD agreement, which lays out the uses, the parking requirements, and all of the typical and non-typical zoning requirements for a project. Because the IHM congregation announced last year that they are intending to sell all of the property except for the Academy building to St. Therese, which is a senior living community out of Minnesota. We need to update the PUD agreement to reflect the land division of what the IHM congregation will keep, as well as what will be owned by St. Therese. And so the public hearing and the recommendation that the Planning Commission made to City Council was only consider updating the agreement to reflect the ownership of the new parcels, as well as to add St. Therese as a signatory to that agreement. So no development plans have been turned in, no expansion, construction, building, nothing has been proposed. Our office has gotten a considerable amount of phone calls, and we had a full audience at the Planning Commission, which I appreciated last week. What we've informed everybody is if there are any plans to do construction, renovation, expansion, there would have to be a site plan and plans turned in that would also result in another public hearing before the Planning Commission and City Council. So it's only to consider the lot split and then adding St. Teresa's party to that agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Lamore.
Thank you, Your Honor. Firstly, I'd like to thank the newly appointed or reappointed commissioners to the various boards and commissions. Without them, we can't do our job up here. So really appreciate them, those people stepping up. Also spoke with the city manager and Patrick Lewis today regarding the river. It's starting to go over its banks a little bit, and I believe that's because of some of that ice is choking up the water down by the Winchester Street Bridge, but I've been assured that city staff is keeping their eye on it hour by hour just to keep track of the flood levels. So I don't know if you want to make any updates on that, but just stay tuned. If there's any problems, we definitely will locate residents and make sure that they're appropriately taken care of. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilman Felder.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to say what a wonderful time we had at last Saturday's work session for the economic development. That was a wonderful and extraordinary meeting, I think, that we had. It was about 4 hours, 4.5 hours, and man, we used every bit of it. So looking forward to more discussions like that where council can have an opportunity to be involved in the discussion and deliberate amongst ourselves. So I was just very happy to see that happen. I was wondering if the administration, City Manager Robinson, had an update on 212 East Front. I know that we put bids out for that a while back. It's been several months, and I was just wondering what we've received back.
Manager Robinson.
Currently, we don't have anything back in the ways of bids at this point.
So the deadline has passed and we received no
We
proposals?
received no bids at this point, yes.
Thank you. I would like to follow up on a item that Councilwoman Germaine raised. Did I hear correctly, there will be a presentation to council after the design of the new library and opportunity center is finalized? Did I hear that correctly?
Well, I think what he explained is, as we get going further and after we receive the 50% portion of when the design is ready, before we actually send it out to bid, that we will schedule a work session to where we could present the entire program, the entire plan to city council before we send it out to bid. But prior to that process, we are still trying to bridge the funding gap that we currently have, and we have a meeting tomorrow to do that.
And what is the city's current commitment on this project? I know there's a lot of grant funds and state funds coming in from outside. What is the city's current commitment?
The exact dollar amount, I'm not sure. I know that we have a $7.8 million grant, and we're trying to keep it within that realm. And I think from the base construction, I think we're fulfilling that. But there are a lot of other fees, et cetera, we have to look at, permit fees, all those things that I learned the term today, soft costs that we can work on.
Okay. Will the design of the property before it goes out to bid be adjustable or amendable by council during that review process?
I imagine it would be. I mean, when we bring it to you for the session, before we actually send it out to bid and accept the bid, that would be a council action.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your thought. So that's all I have this evening, Your Honor.
Thanks, Councilman. So I think that through, and I think, in the past, we've had some bids that have gone out because of work sessions, say, move forward the bid. Obviously, what I'm hearing is, as this gets to the point where there's, I guess, action to be taken to send it out, that there's an interest by the council to kind of see what it is that's going to go out for that process. And I think that's something that could be, whether it be presentation or an item for council's consideration. So, yeah, as we get closer. So I have a couple comments. So I'll start. This Saturday, on the January 20th, is the River Race National Battlefield Park Commemoration Day. It starts at 10 a.m. is when the visitor center opens, but there'll be a tactical display at 11 o'clock, and then the commemoration will be at noon. Following that, at between 1 and 4 p.m., there'll be presentations at the visitor center inside the theater. There's three that are scheduled, so there's obviously the visitor center will be open as well. Hope that can be opportunity to join, dress warmly as we get through that. I know that there's been some of our state and representatives from federal legislators that are going to be in attendance, but also the Consul General from Canada will be at this commemoration this year, newly appointed. So look forward to seeing everybody. I would just want to follow up to Councilman Moore's on the boards, commissions. I thank all those that have an interest to serve from our residents, and he's correct. We cannot do without our service and providers by our residents being active and involved and engaged in what we do and how we move forward. I think there's some comments that there tonight about the Planning Commission meeting and others, and some thanks to some of our own members as well. So I appreciate the council's support on boards and commissions. There will be more. There's a couple that are still pending that are not filled for appointments at this point, but talking to some people to see what I can bring forward. So those are my comments this evening. Clerk Treasurer Lavoy.
I have no comments.
Thank you. City Manager Robinson.
The only thing I'd like to follow up on is to assure Councilman Lamore that when we got the call today, Director Lewis and I went out. We were checking the level of the river. We went down. We could see that there were still canals in the river that were able to flow. I think it's a combination of the amount of rain that fell before we received that flash freeze that we experienced this past weekend, and the continued cold. And when we went out and we inspected it, I can assure you that the engineering department will be monitoring it, and we have dealt with the port, and if it becomes necessary and practical that we can do it, they will contact the Coast Guard, and we would have an ice cutter come in or a tugboat come in to try to free that up.
Okay. Other comments? Okay. Next is citizens' comments. If there's those present here this evening that wish to speak, I ask you please come to the podium, state your name, your jurisdiction of residence. Any comments from those present here this evening? Any comments from public that's present? We now have our item to follow up with the,
Your Honor, I request that we go in a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of land acquisition.
motion by Councilman Moore, supported by Councilwoman Stilgrave to go into the closed executive session for regarding land acquisition. Clerk, please call the roll.
Hayter. Yes. Stilgrave. Vining. Germaine. Lamore.
Yes.
Felder. Mayor Clark.
Yes.